Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive. And this time, we're going to be diving into Financial Freedom by Grant Sabatier.
Awesome.
And I know you've been spending some time with this book and a couple of interviews too, so kind of cool to get your take on like the overall message.
Yeah, I love Grant's approach. I think what makes it so powerful is that he's not some, financial guru. He's someone who is really in the trenches, drowning in debt, dead-end job, totally lost. And then he kind of had to figure it all out on his own. And so I think that makes his story so relatable.
Yeah, he's kind of like the everyman, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's appealing to a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's just jump right in, I guess. The whole idea of financial freedom is in the title of the book, right?
Yeah.
But he talked about how actually early on, he was making a huge mistake.
Yeah, he was so focused on, hitting that magic $1 million number that he forgot to ask himself why. Why do I even want $1 million?
Right, what's the point? If you don't know what you want, how do you know when you're there, right? You could end up a millionaire and be miserable.
Exactly. And that's where he encourages people to actually start, is by defining, what is that ideal life? What are those non-negotiables?
Right.
And then figure out the money piece.
Yeah, instead of the other way around, which is what most people do.
Right.
Right. You think, okay, how much money do I need to retire?
Yeah, you're putting the cart before the horse.
Right.
Yeah.
Then and once you have that number, then you back into, okay, what do I need to do?
Yeah. And you might not even enjoy it. You might hit $1 million and you're like, wait, this is it. This is not what I wanted at all.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because he has this concept he talks about called days of freedom.
Yeah, I love this concept.
Where he actually has these calculators on his website.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go and plug in, your spending and stuff. And it'll tell you how many days of freedom a purchase is costing you.
Yeah, it really puts things into perspective. When you see, that $100 dinner is costing you 17 days of future freedom, suddenly those impulse buys might not seem so tempting.
Yeah, it's suddenly you're not just spending money, you're spending time.
Yeah.
Days of your life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's a real mind shift, I think, for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of figure out what your ideal life is, how much that's going to cost, how much time you're willing to trade for certain purchases, that sort of thing. But then what's next? What's the next step in kind of this journey?
So he talks about adopting what he calls the enterprise mindset. And it's not necessarily, husking the habits of the super rich, but it's understanding how they view money.
Okay.
And one of the ways he describes it is think of yourself not as an employee, but like the CEO of your own life.
Okay.
How would you invest your time and resources to maximize your potential?
Okay, so I'm hearing efficiency.
Yes. Yeah.
You're the CEO of You Incorporated.
Exactly. And it includes understanding, your value.
Mm-hmm.
Sabatier actually points out that it costs companies 40 to 60% of your salary on average to replace you.
Oh, wow.
So while I'm not, suggesting you barge into your boss's office and demand a raise, understanding your leverage in the enterprise of your career is essential.
Okay, so this is interesting because we've all heard, cut back on your lattes, don't, clip coupons, all that kind of stuff. But he says actually you should be focusing on the big things.
Absolutely. Housing, transportation, and food are where you can make the biggest impact.
Okay, so not sweating the small stuff so much as the big three.
Yeah, and his only budget you'll ever need. It's actually surprisingly simple and focuses on these 3 major categories.
Right.
And then he encourages you to find ways to, live for free within those categories.
Okay, when you say live for free, I'm imagining a tent in the woods.
Yeah.
What exactly do you mean by that?
No, he doesn't mean, literally living off the grid. But he's talking about leveraging resources and skills to reduce those big expenses. So, for example, house hacking.
Okay.
Where you buy a multifamily property, you live in one unit and you rent out the others.
Right.
That's a way to drastically reduce your housing cost.
Okay, so kind of finding those loopholes in the system.
Yeah.
Being resourceful.
Exactly.
Not just accepting, this is how much it costs to live in the world.
Yeah.
Be creative about it.
Exactly. And, speaking of being resourceful, remember he used to cat sit even when he was making good money just to keep that income flowing, not leaving money on the table.
He's got that side hustle mentality going.
He does.
Yeah. And even when he didn't need it, it's it's ingrained in him, I guess.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so we've kind of covered, the budgeting, the saving, the kind of being resourceful side of things.
Mm-hmm.
But how does investing fit into all of this?
So that's actually where it gets really interesting. He thinks that investing is much simpler than most people think. At least for the average person. He's a big fan of index funds, calls it the workhorse of any portfolio. Slow and steady wins the race.
Okay, so not necessarily like day trading or anything like that.
No, he thinks that's gambling.
Okay.
He's more about the long-term, slow and steady approach.
Okay. All right. So what about, I know he's also a fan of real estate too. How does that fit into the picture?
He is. He sees it as a really powerful tool for building wealth.
Okay.
But he emphasizes that it takes more knowledge and savvy than just investing in index funds.
Right.
So it's not as passive, but the potential returns can be significant.
Okay. So you've got index funds, you've got real estate, and he's saying, particularly if you're younger,
Yes.
take some calculated risks. You have time on your side to recover if things don't go as planned.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things he thinks is missing from a lot of financial advice is that it's way too conservative,
Okay.
especially for younger folks.
Mhm.
Time is on your side. You have more time to recover if things don't go as planned.
Yeah, you've got time to bounce back.
And potentially even higher long-term gains.
Right.
If you're willing to take those risks.
Okay. So, all right, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's kind of refreshing to hear that.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to kind of swing for the fences when you're younger.
Exactly.
Especially, but okay, so let's say we've done all this. We're saving, we're investing. We've kind of got our mindset in the right place.
Yeah.
How do we actually make these good habits stick?
Right.
Because it's one thing to know what you should be doing. It's another to actually do it day after day.
That's a great question. And Grant is a big believer in the power of habits.
Okay.
And one of his favorite habits is daily money meditation.
Okay, money meditation. What does that even look like?
It's taking a few minutes each day to check in with your finances, get familiar with the numbers, track your progress. It's almost like a mindfulness practice,
Okay.
but for your money.
So it's not like I'm sitting there like chanting affirmations or anything. It's just more like,
No, but you are, visualizing your goals,
right.
getting comfortable with the numbers, not being afraid to look at your bank account,
Okay.
and just really getting familiar with your financial situation so
Right.
that you can make better decisions.
So it's like taking your financial temperature every day.
Exactly.
Okay. And then in addition to that, money meditation, he also talks about tracking your net worth regularly.
Yeah, and this can be a huge motivator because you're actually watching that number grow over time.
Yeah, seeing those wins.
Exactly. And even, he has this funny little quirk where he likes to round up his investments to even numbers just because it feels good.
He seems like kind of a numbers guy.
He is, but he's all about those little psychological tricks that make the journey more enjoyable and sustainable.
Right.
Because financial freedom isn't just about, the destination. It's about enjoying the ride along the way.
Totally. And that's actually a perfect segue into this idea that financial freedom isn't just about the money itself. It's about building a life that you love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He actually realized early on that he was trading away too much for just the money. And he talks about living a richer life. And he doesn't just mean financially. It's about relationships, purpose, health.
The whole picture.
The whole picture.
All right, so this has been an amazing overview. I think we've covered a lot of ground here. But I'm sure you're listening and thinking, okay, this all sounds great. But where do I even begin?
That's a great question. And luckily, Grant doesn't just leave us with a bunch of lofty ideas. He actually provides some really practical strategies and actionable steps to get started on this path to financial freedom.
All right, perfect. So I think we should probably dig into some of those strategies.
I think so too. I think there's a lot more to unpack here.
Awesome. All right, so let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and explore the nitty-gritty of Grant's plan for achieving financial freedom.
All right, so let's dive into some of those practical strategies that Grant outlines in his book. One of the things he really emphasizes is the power of side hustles.
Yeah.
Even when you have a full-time job. Remember, he even continued cat-sitting as a side hustle, even when he was already making decent money.
I love that story. It's just like that hustler mentality never really left him.
Right, exactly. And it's not just about the extra cash. It's about, potentially discovering your passions and maybe even transitioning into a career that you love.
Okay, so like finding something that could actually replace your 9-to-5.
Exactly. He calls it building your freedom business.
Oh, okay.
Something that you're passionate about that can eventually give you more flexibility and control over your time.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and he actually provides like a framework for evaluating side hustle ideas.
Oh.
Looking at, income, potential time commitment, how much you actually enjoy the work.
Yeah.
He really encourages you to find something that aligns with your skills and interests, so it doesn't feel like a chore.
Right, so don't just pick the first thing that comes along. That could make you money.
Exactly. Find something that you actually enjoy.
Okay.
And, he even suggests experimenting with multiple side hustles
Oh, okay.
until you find one that really resonates with you.
I like that.
It's all about exploring and, discovering what works best for you.
That makes sense. So it's funny because he talks about how he could have actually achieved financial independence even faster
Yeah.
if he'd focused more on building recurring income streams from the start.
Yes.
Like things like rental properties or online businesses, things that generate that passive income.
That's such a key point because, he was so focused on hitting that $1 million number early on.
Right.
That he kind of overlooked those other paths to financial freedom.
Right.
And, building those passive income streams takes time and effort.
Sure.
But it can create a more sustainable and less stressful path to financial freedom in the long run.
Right. So it's like planting those seeds that will eventually, bear fruit.
Exactly.
And then you can kind of step back and let them do their thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's say we've got our side hustles going. We're starting to generate some extra income. What's next? How do we actually start investing that money?
Yeah.
And putting it to work for us?
That's where his 7-step investing plan comes in.
Okay. 7 steps. I like it.
It's a pretty simple but comprehensive roadmap that anyone can follow.
Break it down for me. What are the 7 steps?
Okay, so the first step is defining your financial goals.
Yeah.
What are you actually saving and investing for?
Right. Because if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
Exactly. So that clarity will help you stay motivated and make smart choices along the way.
Makes sense. So step 1 is all about getting clear on that. Why?
Yes.
Okay, what about step 2?
Step 2 is calculate your net worth.
Okay.
And he's a big fan of tracking this number regularly because it gives you a snapshot of your overall financial health.
Right, like a progress report.
Exactly. And it helps you see the progress you're making.
Yeah. And he's got that whole section of the book about money meditation where you're supposed to spend a few minutes each day just checking in with your finances, getting comfortable with those numbers.
Exactly.
Kind of like taking your financial temperature.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've defined our goals. We're tracking our net worth. What's next on this investing roadmap?
Step 3 is creating a budget that aligns with your goals.
Okay.
And he stresses that this doesn't have to be complicated or restrictive.
Right. Nobody likes to feel like they're on a diet.
Exactly. Remember, his only budget you'll ever need.
Uh-huh.
It's all about prioritizing those big 3 expenses: housing, transportation, and food.
Right.
And finding ways to reduce those expenses.
Okay.
So, negotiating your rent, finding cheaper transportation options, cooking at home more often.
Right. Being mindful of where your money's going.
Exactly. Making choices that support your financial goals.
Got it. Okay. So we're being mindful of our spending. We're tracking our progress.
Yeah.
What about actually putting that money to work for us? Where does investing come in?
So step 4 is all about automating your savings and investments.
Oh, okay.
He recommends setting up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings and investment accounts.
Oh, so you don't even have to think about it.
Exactly. You're consistently putting money away without even having to think about it.
I like it.
And he also emphasizes, taking advantage of tax-advantaged retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs.
Right.
So you're maximizing your tax savings and growing your money more efficiently.
Okay, so automation tax breaks. What about actually choosing those investments? That's where it can get a little overwhelming for people.
He keeps it simple.
Okay.
Step 5 is invest in low-cost index funds.
Okay.
He calls them the workhorse of any portfolio because they provide broad market exposure, they're low cost, and they require very minimal effort to manage.
So that's a good starting point for someone who's maybe new to investing.
Exactly.
Okay, so index funds are the foundation. What about building on that foundation? What other types of investments does he recommend?
So step 6 is exploring real estate investing, which he sees as a really powerful tool for building wealth and generating passive income.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier.
We did, but he stresses that this requires more knowledge and due diligence than index funds. So it's not as passive, but the potential rewards can be significant.
Right, and he's a big fan of that house hacking strategy.
Yes.
Where you buy a multifamily property and live in one of the units while renting out the others.
Exactly. He also talks about the BRRRR method.
BRRRR method.
What's that?
It stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat.
Oh, okay.
And it's a way to kind of use your initial investment to acquire more properties.
Oh, wow.
And build wealth and cash flow over time.
Cool. All right. So we've covered index funds, real estate. What about those final touches on our, financial freedom masterpiece? What's step 7 all about?
Step 7 is rebalancing your portfolio periodically,
Okay.
just to make sure it stays aligned with your goals and risk tolerance.
Right, because things change over time.
Exactly. As your investments grow, as market conditions change, you want to make sure that you're not overexposed to any one asset class.
Okay, so it's kind of like checking in with your financial garden,
That's a great way to put it.
making sure everything is growing in harmony.
Pruning back any branches that are getting out of control.
And he emphasizes that investing is a long game,
Yes.
and it's important to stay disciplined, stay informed, and adjust your strategy as needed.
Okay, so we've got our 7-step plan in place. We're feeling good about our financial future. But what about those mental and emotional roadblocks
Yeah.
that can often sabotage our best intentions? How do we overcome those?
That's such a good question. And Grant doesn't shy away from that emotional side of money.
Yeah.
He recognizes that our thoughts and beliefs about money can often hold us back
Right.
from achieving our financial goals.
And he even has a whole section in the book dedicated to money mindset.
He does.
Yeah.
And he encourages us to identify those limiting beliefs that we may have inherited from our upbringing or from society and challenge them.
Right. Like those beliefs that, money is evil or rich people are greedy,
Exactly.
which can actually subconsciously sabotage our efforts to build wealth.
Absolutely. So it's about reframing our relationship with money and developing a more positive and empowered mindset.
Okay, so we're not just building our financial muscles, we're also training our financial minds
Exactly.
to think abundance and believe in our ability to achieve our goals.
Exactly. He even talks about, the importance of surrounding yourself with positive and supportive people
Right.
who believe in your dreams and encourage you on your journey.
It's funny because he says something about how some of the happiest people he knows aren't necessarily the wealthiest.
Yeah.
They're the ones who have found that balance between financial freedom and living a life that aligns with their values and their passions.
Exactly. It's not about the money itself. It's about what the money allows you to do.
Right, so it sounds like his approach to financial freedom is very holistic.
It is.
It's not just about the numbers, it's about aligning your money with your values, your passions, your vision for the life that you want to create.
Exactly.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This has been an incredible deep dive so far. I feel like we've covered so much ground. From, reframing our relationship with money to building those money-making muscles
Yeah.
and investing for the future.
Yeah, we've really gone deep.
But I have a feeling there's even more to explore.
There is.
So why don't we take a quick break and then we'll come back and really dig into those practical steps.
Yes.
Actionable strategies that can help anyone achieve financial freedom no matter where they're starting from.
Oh. Okay. So we're back. And ready to really dig into some of those practical steps and actionable strategies that can help anyone achieve financial freedom, no matter where they're starting from,
Yeah, and one of the most powerful takeaways from Grant's book is that financial freedom isn't a destination, it's a journey.
Right.
And it's a journey that you can start today, no matter your current financial situation.
It's so easy to get overwhelmed, right? You think oh, I need to make all these huge changes. And it's no, just focus on those small, consistent steps.
Exactly.
The daily habits that compound over time. He actually talks about, he gets these reader emails from people who've used his advice to save thousands of dollars or achieve their financial goals. And it's those small wins, those incremental changes that lead to those big transformations.
It's like that saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right?
Right.
And even if you can't retire by 30, which, by the way, Grant proves is possible.
His story is incredible.
It is. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But even if that's not your goal, the principles that he lays out can help you make smarter choices now.
Absolutely.
Choices that reduce stress, give you more options, and help you align your spending with what truly matters.
It's about creating that financial buffer, that sense of security that allows you to take risks, pursue your passions, and, weather those inevitable storms that life throws your way.
So for you listening,
Yeah.
what does all this mean? Grant's path is inspiring.
Oh.
But the real takeaway, I think, is that financial freedom is a tool to build the life that you want. What choices will it unlock for you? Maybe it's not about, millions of dollars, but maybe it's about having the security to take a career risk or spend a year volunteering.
Or finally, taking that dream trip you've always put off, or simply knowing that, if things go sideways, you've got a cushion.
Right? That peace of mind is priceless.
It is.
It's about having the freedom to say yes to the things that light you up and no to the things that drain you.
Exactly.
So what's that one tiny step you can take today to get started? Maybe it's finally creating that budget or automating your savings or reading one of Grant's articles on his website.
Or just spending a few minutes meditating on your money,
Right.
getting comfortable with those numbers, and envisioning the life that you want to create.
So I think it's safe to say we've unearthed some real treasures from Grant's work.
We have.
I'm walking away feeling inspired and motivated
Yeah.
and really just ready to take my own financial journey to the next level.
Me too. He's a master at demystifying these complex financial concepts and making them accessible to anyone, regardless of their background or starting point.
And he does it with such passion and enthusiasm.
He does.
You can tell he genuinely wants to help people
Yeah.
achieve their financial dreams
Yeah.
and create a life that they love.
He's like that friend who's cracked the code
Right?
and is
Yeah.
eager to share the secrets.
But we've certainly benefited from his wisdom today.
Yeah,
And I'm sure you listening have gleaned some valuable insights as well.
I hope so.
Remember, financial freedom is within your reach. And Grant has given us the roadmap to get there.
He has.
So go forth and build that life of freedom and abundance. And until next time, keep diving.